Hi everyone, welcome to my channel. Welcome to Happy Connections. Welcome back if you've seen some of my videos and are a part of my channel, or welcome if you're new here. I'm sure you saw the title and you were like, oh my gosh. Usually I have a cute intro for this, but honestly this is something that's really sensitive to me. But like always, I feel like my experience allows other people to learn from things. If you're just not ready to hear this, if you're in a particularly sensitive spot, this might not be the video for you. Not really going to talk too much about the actual chain of events, but if it's sore for you, whatever, then maybe like take a break. I feel like maybe I'm saying this for myself, so God knows how long this video is going to be, but let's just get into it. So, per the title, I had gotten kicked out of my, I don't want to say out of my childhood home when I was after my first year at college. Now, some people know this story. It's something that is super sensitive to me, and so I'm like, but I think I've learned so much from the experience, and it was absolutely transformative to me. And I believe that if you're going through something like this, I'm really sorry. It sucks and it hurts a lot, but you do end up at the other side, and there's more to life than anything that's happened in that moment. So I just wanted to leave space for that. But what, when, how, why, all of the things, why did I jump on the internet to tell a bunch of people about something super, super personal like this? And it's because I've shared my story a couple of times with some people. I feel like that was my test trial to see like, oh, okay, if I could share with one or a few people, if I could talk to some trusted folks about it, then once I really feel okay, I think other people can learn from it. And so, like I mentioned, I did get kicked out after my first year of college, and I can say now that I am really grateful for it. I don't think I would have said that back then. I was not grateful at all. I was very angry. But now, at where I am at now, I'm super grateful. I think if that hadn't happened, I would be mentally stuck there. And that's not at all good for my growth. But yeah, I just feel like I'll just chat it out, see where it goes. All right. What exactly happened? So this was the summer after I had come home. And honestly, I always had a feeling that I was going to get kicked out. It's something that was just inside of me. I always knew that my personality would be at war with my father's. And I tell everybody I know, I mean, people come on my page all the time. I am a big personality. I like to live my life out loud. I love to be who I am as much as possible. And this experience was the most transformative of them all. But even from when I was a child, I was very dedicated, persistent, stubborn, kind of headstrong, honestly, but I was really passionate about life and about making a difference and about making a change. And so when you're someone like me, or just whatever, like that can put you at odds with other people, whether it be traditions or like hierarchies. And it was something that had made that family dynamic rather uncomfortable because I was so different, because I was pushing against other people. And I wouldn't just stop at what they thought I should be doing, or that I should just be quiet and exist. And so that was especially freeing when I had come to college, and even though it was a fairly difficult first year, I felt like I had taken on more responsibility for the communities that I was in, for the people that I was around, and I had really gotten a plan for what I wanted to do with my time there. Now, that doesn't exactly translate really well going back home, even though I lived in such a big city like New York. So I had gone back home. I think I'm like super excited about all these things. I got a TA position. I was feeling on fire. And I wanted to just hang out. Like, I heard about all these other stories, all these other people, what they were doing. And for me, I was like, well, I'm in college now. Like, other people get to live their life. I was never really particularly that much of an outside kind of person anyways. But just like to have friends. I couldn't really like hang out with my friends. Like, that was not something I really did. That was not something I could do as much when I was a teenager. And so I wanted to do that. I wanted to experience life. I wanted to have fun and go out with people. And so I did. And I took a trip and I traveled. And I met my family out in Florida. I was like, great, this is cool. I can't wait to go back home and share all of the things about it. And when I came back home, I was just feeling really uneasy. Things were pretty tense. But I had gone to my mother's place and I just still had to finish up a remote position that I was working with. I figured I'll just come back the next day. The next day I get back, I get woken up at 4 o'clock in the morning and I get told to pack all my stuff and get out. So I was like, okay, I will do that. And I did. Oh my God, I talk about this so often. I already feel myself getting emotional. I should have brought tissues over here. I think it was hard for me because I was still 18 at the time. And I had my birthday's in December. I was literally like 18 and a half, like just literally just starting out on things. And this was my home. Like, my family was there. And I didn't expect it because they were the center of my universe. I literally have my siblings tattooed on my leg. Or like symbols that represent them. But they were the core of all the things I did. I was definitely obedient, even though if I like clashed heads, I always put them first. In my mind, there was no one else that mattered more to me. Like, yes, I had friends. Yes, I had other people. But at the end of the day, I always come back to my family. I always come back to the house. And so when it happened, I just felt my entire identity crumble, I guess. Whew. It did, because so much of my life had been serving them. And I was forcefully put out from that. But it was like a hard identity shift. It was the same thing as like, well, not, it was definitely not the same thing, but like even more, like when I stopped being an athlete. Like, my whole life was around soccer, being a team captain, playing for all these different teams, doing something, and I was no longer that. And I felt very clearly in that day that I just knew that I would not come back there. I would not go back there ever. So I did. I packed up all my things. I called my mother. I was like, hey, I need to stay by you for a bit. I'll just keep my things there for a little while, figure out a way to get back. And I'll just see where this takes me. Now, this is parallel to the same time where I am now starting to recruit and prepare for finance internships and stuff at the time. But I didn't really have anyone that close to me to talk. I mean, it was also not something that I was going to tell my like new college friends. Like, that was a big source of pride to me. Like, oh, I'm going home. I'm going to make sure, like, I don't like, I'm not ill or anything. I'm going to go home. I'm going to go home. I'm going to go home. Even though I knew that my home life was not the best. The idea that I had somewhere to go back to mattered a lot to me. So when that happened, I mean, thank God for my forward thinking of separating my bank accounts and what, but I had to find a way to get back to campus. And just to put this in context, I was a low-income student, first gen. Like, I got myself through college. I had to do that for me. That was all me. And so having to buy that plane ticket to get back it hurt emotionally, but it hurt financially a lot. I didn't have the funds because I still had to buy books and I still had to, buy things for the room and get a comforter and things like that. And I was just under so much stress. I just remember putting on my credit cards and transitioning to get a new phone and a new plan and basically starting over without the family. Now, that I think was something that changed something in me. Because the lesson I learned was like, if the one thing that I thought would always be constant for me could leave and go away and just not exist anymore, then quite literally there is nothing else. There is nothing else in my life that could anchor me down. And here's what I mean by that. They were my world, my entire world. That was problematic because the way I experienced life at the time was by always comparing it back to them, going back to them. But that is literally not the way that things need to be. And so it was very codependent. Everyone thinks like codependency is always like victimized, like, oh, I need other people to help me. Yes, but like within that same pair relationship, there's someone who's always helping. I always felt like I had to help. I always had to be there. That I always had to show up and do and give and give and give. I was just giving myself away. Like, there was no boundaries. There was no respect. And my life just centered on eventually, like, what would be best to elevate all of us. And the biggest thing it showed was that even family could be taken away from me. And so if that's the case, then I have nothing but myself. And there's a pro and a con to realizing that. The con was very obvious. I was like, my support system, not that much was really happening, but I was like, that's it, my stability. I felt the foundation under me crumble. The pro was that I had nothing to prove to anybody, and I only had a responsibility to myself. And so that was it. I didn't have to give. There was nothing to give back anymore. And regardless of how the people around me felt. They felt it was unfair. I thought it was extreme. I never got a reason, because once I left, I didn't look back. What was there to look back for? For what? Like, it was even more of a sign to me that I needed to just really like grow up. I had been independent. I had been getting my own food. I cooked for myself and my siblings and bought my own clothes and stuff, and for the most part really just navigated life on myself. But now this was the next step of like, okay, like actually doing it. And so that's what it was. But I was hurting. I was hurting a lot. And to come back to campus and hear about everyone else's break and everyone else's experiences and whatnot. And I had also gotten fired from one of my jobs that summer. That's another conversation though. That was also like, that man reminded me a lot of my own father, and it just like kind of just like took advantage of me and my work. But I'm glad it's over now. I am. I needed to learn boundaries. I was just too enmeshed with the people I had in my life, and so when they cut themselves off or they didn't need me anymore, it was devastating. It was devastating to me because it was so close linked to my identity as a person. And when I had come back to campus, I just felt like a bleeding heart. I was like, we gotta get to work. Like, that was not like really motivation. I felt a lot of anger. I felt a lot of frustration. But it was really just like, I can't, because if I don't take advantage of the opportunities that are for me now, I will not, I won't be able to do it again. And that's the thing about finance. Like, there's always a job, but there's not certain types of jobs available all the time. And I just had to, regardless of whether or not it would have happened, I would have had to put my head down and work. And that's what I did. I can remember a few moments where I was just telling people stuff about it. I don't know why. Like, I am not the person to go out and talk about my really deep, personal, like, private plans. Like, I get that I come here and I chat a lot about, because I want people to understand that they're not alone and that there's something to be learned from every experience. But that's like after I've learned it. Like, that's when I'm not so vulnerable, and like when I know what I want to do, I can come out and share that, because there's times for showing, and there's just times for solitude and healing and rest. And I needed that over the years. I just needed time to recover, to get back in shape. Now, not to say the additional racism and the sexism and a whole set of other issues that were happening alongside that. But yeah, I let some people, for some reason, I told some others about what was going on. I think it was most painful to me when I realized that I had to ask for help from other adults. I don't say other adults, from real adults, like staff members and people who worked at the university, because I wasn't working like consistently. I didn't really have anything else to rely on. And the financial support that I was getting was coming from my own college jobs. And when I'm the one taking care of all of the bills for myself and whatever, like, there's just nothing else there was nowhere else for me to go. And it was a really sensitive time for me, because I was like homeless. Like, I was like, where am I gonna go back to? And it put me consistently on edge because I felt like at any time, oh gosh, that the rug could be pulled out from underneath me. And it was just a lot of stress, a lot of heartache. But I got through it. And I just knew that I just couldn't rely on anybody else to do for me what I knew I had to do for myself. My dreams were always my responsibility. My future was always my responsibility. Taking care of all the different parts that exist inside of me and being who I am, that's all my responsibility. And I just needed to turn to somebody and say, please, I need help. And oh my God, I am full of shame and really embarrassed to do this and ask you for help. But I have no one to turn to. And that's exactly what my conversations were sounding like. I was so embarrassed. I grew up as the eldest daughter in an immigrant family. I had always done things for myself and for my siblings. Like, my money was their money, and whenever things happened, like, I would just take care of it. And then all I had was to take care of me, and I couldn't even do that. Like, I couldn't even take care of myself, or at least I felt like I couldn't take care of myself. Whew. Let me take a breather here. Let me breathe for a little bit. Oh my goodness. I just don't want to end the video because I feel like if I end the video, I'm not coming back. Okay, we're back into it. But I was filled with guilt. I don't know if that's guilt. I don't know what that is. I was embarrassment, a lot of shame that one, unlike everybody else's family, like mine was not taking care of me. And then like, okay, even if that was the case, I couldn't take care of myself. Now I look back, and now that I like live on my own, like I look back and I'm like, you shouldn't, I was a kid, like why would I expect, like people don't expect college kids to be able to do that for themselves. It's abnormal. Anywho's, that was a lot of things that were coming through my mind. And what played out from that was boundaries. And I've spoke about it a little bit, but truly learning and understanding why boundaries are so important. Why I had to say no to people and things. Why I had to stand on business. Why I had to be strong and be like, I understand, but that's not going to work for me. I had to protect myself. But I also had to protect the things that were coming to me. Other people tended to, because I'm a very generous person, honestly. I freely give advice. I freely show up for people. It was just, like, there's only so much. As a person, my love is endless. Like, I have a huge heart. Like, there's universal love. I believe in all of those things. But I am also a person. There's a limited amount of me. There's only one me. There's a limited amount of time that I exist in my form currently. Like, I'm going to end, like, my life is going to end one day. The stages that I'm in are going to end one day. And I'm not always going to look the same from season to season in my life. And I think that loneliness of knowing that my experience was just so different from others, and being shown by peers that I was also not accepted, I think just triggered a lot of things inside of me. Time and time again, because not only was I rejected at that like really foundational core front, I was rejected by peers and people that I thought were my friends, and people who I thought would show up for me. And it hurt a lot. It really did. But it also gave me the chance to show up for myself. I think we're 25 minutes in. It's been a while. I don't even know if people are reaching this point. But I am so happy that it happened. Because it showed me that if that one thing that I thought I would never let go of could change for me, then nothing in my life was a constant. And that was a beautiful thing. I didn't have to stay like poor or like disadvantaged or unable. Like I would always have the space to create and the capacity to move forward, and not just by myself. If the story that I was told growing up was that I had to handle it, well, how can I write a different story for myself now? And when I built the foundation, not of myself, not on other people, but inside me, I think it allows me to show up as I am now. That I can show up online and tell my stories. That I can show up for people. That I can be a mentor. That I can push the line further and further and say like, hey, that's not right. And stand up for people and look for injustices and correct them and call them out. Because I know what it feels like. Because I lived through it. Because at the end of the day, all I have is me. And I appreciate all the people who are in my life. But I know that I have a responsibility to myself. And I can say this many years later that it worked out. It was so painful. I just felt like it was problem stacked on problem stacked on problem stacked on problem. But it was an opportunity for me to be truly independent. And so I don't base who I am on other people anymore, or my connections with them, or whatever. I quite literally just exist as myself. And I'm only responsible and accountable for myself. And I love myself. And even though I grew up in a harsh environment, I told myself that I love you. And I'm going to show up for you because others didn't show up for you. So I'm going to be there every day, every morning, every night, every season, every second of every hour. I am going to be there for me. So I just want to say, like, one, I love you if you're still here. And if no one has told you this, I love you. And I hope that you one day get to it. If today is not that day, that you tell yourself that and you mean it from the bottom of your heart. But I'm looking at myself right now and I want to tell you, like, I love you. And you did so many things. And I'm so proud of you for for overcoming all of the challenges that have been thrown your way. Because, gosh, man, if I saw someone else going through this, I'd be like, what the heck? Like, this is crazy. But you did it. And you did it with humility, and you did it with grace. And you didn't see it as a negative, that it was the end of your road, but more so that it's an opportunity for you to open up. I felt like my heart broke. My heart broke and it grew. I only had a capacity to exist as this much, because that's what I was told. Because all of this, oh my God, my nose is running now. I gotta find napkins. Hold on. I have to. This is just crazy. I'm gonna be back. like this is too much. There's limits to this. Yes, now I forgot where I was, but I will say this now and again and whatever, but I am grateful, truly, because now there's no more restrictions. I no longer have to show up as a daughter in a certain way, or as a sister in a certain way, or as a grandchild. I am just me. And God, does it feel good to be me. I owe no one nothing. I don't owe anyone a single thing. I am myself. And all I have to do is keep showing up as myself. And when I started to reach out, because for so long I had only reached out to grab other people's hand and help them. When I reached out and I was like, I need something. I need some support. I need love. I need help. I need financial stuff. I need something. I got it. I got the people who cared for me and who wanted the best for me. So I don't feel bad about it, because of all the experiences in my life. They've all built me and provided time for me to sculpt myself into who I am today. And gosh, thank you for listening if you've reached this far. But I really love who I am. I tell myself I love myself every single day. I'm like, I love you. You're beautiful. You're so smart. You are full of joy. You are sunshine. You're light. Every day you're moving closer and closer to your goals. You are phenomenal. You are amazing. You inspire so many people. I can do a whole other video on affirmations that I tell myself. But I do it and I dance and I shake my hips, whatever. I live out loud. Period. So I am happy that it happened, even though it hurt a lot at the beginning. All that to say, I don't even know where the message was. If you got a message out of that, thank gosh, I hope that, I said what needed to be said for this. And if not, then you didn't get it, then whatever. But love you guys.